do you see any relationship between our revolutionary struggle in West Africa from 1970 to 2000 and the global struggle between the so-called Cold War situation? It could be a quick answer, but do you see any?
Yes, I think our sub-region, like many other places, had suffered considerably as a result of this Cold War. The Cold War was played in one of the theaters of the Cold War was here in West Africa, and I would take you 1 decade further behind than where you start. I would start in the 1960s.
Okay.
And talk about the formation of blocks, a Western bloc or a pro-Western bloc and a pro-Eastern bloc, and how with the formation of those blocks with different godfathers abroad, there were the kinds of efforts to support one bloc and keep it going in spite of one bloc or another, to support it and keep it going in spite of its blemishes, internal blemishes. Now, it seems to me that many of the conflicts that we have today had their genesis in that era, but were papered over largely as a result of external support from one bloc or another. In Guinea, for example, the support of the Eastern Bloc for that country, the kinds of resources poured into it, you found a situation in which there was a considerable effort to ensure that the regime was protected from some of the kinds of developments that were happening in the society, the kind of self-actualization that was going on. Here in our own country, if you recall, under President Topman, there was considerable, there was no doubt as to where we were, firmly in the Western camp. President Talbot, by early 70s, began to diversify our international relations. And of course, after the ending of the Cold War, we saw the Americans telling us that this thing we call special relations, the time for that had passed, and that there was no special relationship. Why? Because they didn't need this place for their strategic kinds of facilities, and they did not need to engage in a struggle for allies because international bipolarity had broken down, and there was now a unipolar world. So who needs a security ally when there is not a serious challenger at the international level? So the dynamics of international polarity had impacted our own internal processes. You could see this even more visibly elsewhere. You take a place like the Congo, the TRC, where from day one, the machinations of bipolar politics actually contributed substantially to the destruction of that country. So the Angolan War, the support for one side, the MPLA, and the support for FLN were all done by in the environment of bipolarity, and the people of that country are today worse off because of that international ideological struggle that took place on their land.